I can. My name is Catharine Arnston. I'm the founder and CEO of ENERGYbits and also the Chief Scientific Officer. And what I'm going to tell you today is all science-based. It's been around for over 60 years, but the science has never been really presented, or no one's connected the dots like I have. And I'm going to tell you something so crazy, you would think it would be made up in some sort of science fiction novel, but it isn't. And it's all about algae and how it is going to save your life, protect your longevity, stop you from being sick, stop you from aging, and will feed the world. And what I encourage you all to do is to consider yourself, as I consider myself, a citizen scientist. I do not have a PhD, but I have spent 13 years studying the nutrition and the science of algae, and I can go toe-to-toe with any PhD or MD about how the body works and what it needs to survive and to thrive. And I encourage all of you to think of yourself as scientists, citizen scientists too. That's why we're all here, because we're sick of being sick, right? And we know there is a better way to live our lives with lots of energy and enthusiasm. And aging does not mean deteriorating, but you need to know how your body works and what to give it so that you can indeed thrive and not have to worry about all of these things, because we're all here because we know we either experience these, some of these or all of these ourselves, or we have family members or friends who do. And I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. I want to help you crack the code of longevity and wellness, and it is possible, and it does not have to be complex. It's as simple as opening your mouth and swallowing a few algae tablets every day. Because all of those issues that I had on the screen, fog, brain fog, lethargy, skin issues, digestive issues, all the metabolic health issues like cancer, diabetes, are because of damaged mitochondria. Now, they are aggravated additionally by nutrients that you're missing and toxins that you have, because we live in a toxic world. The average human these days in North America has 800 toxins in their system, and our immune systems were not built, there's seats up in the front here, were not built to sustain that kind of toxic load. And both the toxins and the missing nutrients, which I'm going to talk to you about, that are found in algae, protect and reverse the damage of the mitochondria. And it's not just the mitochondria, it's the mitochondria DNA. You're going to learn today that your mitochondria have their own DNA. Yes, you have 25,000 of regular DNA, also known as nuclear DNA, but the mitochondria have their own. And there's only 37 of them, but they control everything. So what exactly are mitochondria? They're little tiny, what are called organelles that are inside each of your cells. And what they do is they generate something called ATP. When you eat food of any kind, those little mitochondria take your food and create it into this ATP energy that fuels everything that goes on in your body. Your heartbeat, your blood flow, walking, talking, respiration, absolutely everything. It's metabolic energy. But the problem is, in the process of making that ATP energy, there's something called free radicals that are damaged. Free radicals are like rust. They kill, they damage your cells, and we'll get into that in a bigger way. So we're creating all this ATP, but in the process you're getting all these free radicals, and those free radicals damage your mitochondria DNA. There's a seat right here in the front. There's one there's 1, 2, 3 seats left. Yeah, there's one on the side. So, and damaged DNA, mitochondrial DNA, is what causes aging and disease. I'm going to say that again. Damaged mitochondria DNA cause aging and disease. If you can stop the damage, you can stop aging and you can stop disease. Flat out. It's all based in science, and it's proven. So your mitochondria determine your health. And when you have damaged mitochondria, you have damaged health. I refer to the DNA, the mitochondrial DNA, sort of like as an air controller at an airport. They control everything coming in, coming out. And if your air controllers aren't on their game, planes crash. Well, when your mitochondria aren't on their game and they're not doing well, your health crashes. It's that simple. So we have to do everything we can to protect our mitochondria DNA, because when the DNA is working, everything else works. Now, what does it feel like when you have damaged mitochondria? Well, all the things that I had on that first slide. You have fatigue, you have brain fog, you are susceptible to chronic illness, you have sleep issues, gut issues, weight gain, skin issues. It's endless, and it's all because of mitochondria. I came up with a great analogy just this morning that I want to share with you to help you understand how this all works. Think of your body as a skyscraper. We know all in office towers downtown, you have these big skyscrapers, and they have some sort of marquee company like MetLife on the top. So put Brandon's on the top of one skyscraper, and Lila's on the name of another one. And inside that skyscraper, you have offices, okay? And inside those offices are lights. Now, every office tower has a marquee account that takes usually 2 or 3 floors. So in your body is the building, your cells are like the offices. And so the big floors, a marquee account, is like maybe your organs, like your brain or your liver, places that require a lot of energy. So the building is your body, the offices are your cells, and lights are what are inside each of those offices to keep things going. Now, when your mitochondria start getting damaged, your mitochondrial DNA, it's like the lights start going out, and the lights start going out, and more lights start going out, and eventually the building is black. That's when you have disease. And so we can turn those lights back on if we can start helping your mitochondria be healthy again. They can regenerate again. They can generate ATP healthily again. And the lights will start coming on again. People will start coming back into the offices. That means your organs are going to start functioning again. And the building called Brandon and Leela is going to start feeling great again. And that's what happens with mitochondria. They're the little lights inside your cells that keep your building, your structure, functioning optimally. And that's what we're here to learn how to do that. And so just this visual is to show you what happens with free radical damage. It causes the oxidation of tissue. Just like when you leave an apple out, it will start oxidizing and eventually look like that. A normal cell looks like that, but as it gets more oxidated because there's free radical damage, it looks like that and eventually turns like that. This is when all the lights are off in your building. You don't want that. So where is the free radical damage occurring? It's occurring everywhere, every nanosecond of your life. You can't stop free radical damage. Breathing causes free radical damage. Digestion causes free radical damage. And the mitochondria occur in you have 37 trillion cells. That's a huge number. But an even bigger number is that there are 100,000 trillion mitochondria. So if you never thought the mitochondria were important, think again. This blew me away when I realized this. Your brain has 2 million mitochondria per cell. Per cell. They're realizing Alzheimer's disease is a mitochondrial disease. The next highest concentration, I didn't put it on the chart, is actually women's eggs. There are 600,000 mitochondria per cell in a woman's eggs. The next highest one is your heart. It's like 500 to 700,000, and all of your organs are about 500,000 per cell. Your normal skin tissue or fat cell only has about 100 mitochondria. So the highest quantity of mitochondria are where your highest energy needs are. That's your brain, your heart, and it takes a lot of energy to make a human being. So when those lights start going out because you have mitochondrial disease, they're going out first in your brain, they're going out first in your heart, and then they start, the entire body, all those lights in that building start going out until eventually you have so many illnesses that are going on that you can't get back on your feet. But we have a way to help you do that, and it's with algae. So I want you to understand why this is happening. So here is your cell, okay? And in each cell you have a DNA. We have 25,000 of them. And in each cell are those mitochondria. Now imagine, in this cell, in your brain, there's 2 million of these little, peanut-shaped guys, 2 million of them. And inside the mitochondria is where ATP is produced. But this is also where your mitochondria are located. And this is where, because the ATP is produced, this is where free radicals are produced. Your mitochondria, if you've ever sat near a fireplace or a bonfire, you got too close, sparks would fly, right? And you might get burned. Your mitochondria DNA are sitting at the front row of the bonfire. They're exactly where the ATP and the free radicals are being produced. They are being fried every nanosecond. And when your mitochondrial DNA get damaged and mutated, they send wrong signals, they die, and then the lights in your building start going out. Now, your regular nucleus, it lasts a lifetime. It's nowhere near where the mitochondrial damage is going on. Your mitochondrial DNA average lifespan is 20 to 30 days because they're constantly being fried. This is where and why you have damage to your mitochondria, because the mitochondrial DNA, which control all cellular communication, which control all communication with your DNA, are dying all the time. And we need to find a way to stop it. And I have those ways for you. But I wanted you to understand what's going on. Where exactly is it happening and why is it happening? It's because your mitochondria are exactly where the free radicals are being produced. And there's a very strong one called superoxide, which is the most damaging free radical in the world. And fortunately, there's something called superoxide dismutase, which algae has the highest concentration of in the world, and it stops the free radicals and turns them into water. But we'll get into that into more detail. And so why are the mitochondria important? As I mentioned, they control everything, absolutely everything. It's not just the mitochondria, it's the DNA. They are the air controller of your airport or of your building. They control whether the lights stay on or off in your building. So why is this damage so hard to stop? Well, here's the thing. Usually you have antioxidants that stop free radical damage, like we all know about blueberries, and there's the Orax thing. But most antioxidants cannot get into the inner membrane of the mitochondria. You can't really tell, but there's an outer membrane here. All your cells have an outer membrane, but the mitochondria are the only ones that have an inner membrane. And no antioxidants can get into that inner membrane. I'm going to tell you why in a minute, and why I have a solution for you. And we'll get into all, this is just an overview, but we'll get into more detail in a few minutes. So the problem is we can't stop the damage because we can't get any antioxidants in there to stop the free radicals. There are 4, however, that can get into that inner membrane of the mitochondria: glutathione, melatonin, chlorophyll, and a really long one called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD. These 4 antioxidants are the only ones that can get into that inner membrane of your mitochondria. Now, the good news is, and probably can't remember where I put it in, well, this is what I was going to tell you. Those 4 antioxidants are in the highest concentration in the world in algae. And I have the lab tests at my ENERGYbits booth. We're in Tech Hall 4 and 5. You can come and see them for yourself. In fact, when I got the lab tests, I had them do them twice because I couldn't believe that the numbers were so high. We have spirulina and chlorella, and they both they both have the highest glutathione in the world, the highest melatonin in the world. By the way, melatonin does way more than help you sleep. It's a powerful antioxidant and will only make you sleepy at night, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Highest chlorophyll in the world, and superoxide dismutase. Algae has the highest in the world. 1,400 times more glutathione than beef. 1,400 times. Crazy. So this is one of the reasons why everybody in the world needs algae, but it has to be raw algae because, and I'll tell you in a minute, some of these, like superoxide dismutase, are an enzyme, and heat kills them. And almost everybody else who sells other algae uses heat to dry their algae. We don't. All of our stuff is live. Anyways, these are the 4 antioxidants that can get into your mitochondria inner membrane to stop that free radical damage. That's why I consider algae more than a superfood. It's a superhero. I actually call it super duper food. So, and the other problem is these 4 antioxidants are almost impossible to find in food. I think cabbage has 0.000001% of superoxide dismutase. Our algae has 28,000 times more than cabbage. None of them, you can get some of these as supplements, but they've done studies and found out virtually none of them are absorbed very well because they get damaged in the stomach lining. And none of them are produced, well, your body doesn't produce chlorophyll, but glutathione, melatonin, and superoxide dismutase are all produced by your body until you hit 30. And then it stops falling and falling and falling. And by the time you're 50 or by the time you're 60, you have virtually none being produced. That sucks, right? That's exactly when you need the help, because the other thing that falls when you get older is the number of your mitochondria. So just when you need the most help from antioxidants, you're not getting them. There's that magic number, 30. That's when everything starts dropping. That's when your mitochondria start dying, and the fewer mitochondria you have, the fewer lights you have in your building. That's when the darker blue is superoxide dismutase. That's when you stop having enough superoxide dismutase to turn the lights back on. That's when you have less glutathione. Now, I know your body doesn't produce chlorophyll, but as you get older, your digestive system doesn't work as well because you don't have as many digestive enzymes. So people generally steer away from vegetables because it gives them gas. And by the way, even if you ate vegetables 24/7, you're still not getting the nutrient that your grandparents had because our soils are dead. They're dead. You're getting fiber and calories, and you are not getting nutrition. Have you noticed that your arugula goes yellow after about 3 days? I do. And so they grow them far, far away. They harvest them before they're ripe, so all the nutrients aren't in the leaves or in the fruit. You're hosed. You're like, what are we going to do, right? Even if you have your own garden, I mean, then you spend half your life gardening. I mean, we're here to engage in life. We need ways to hack our life so we can get it back. And the fact that the three that your body makes and that you don't eat chlorophyll anymore just is crazy. This is why at 50, your inflammation is going up off the charts. And when you have inflammation, you have damaged tissue, you have free radical damage, you have all these issues going on. The lights in your building are going off every single minute. And and that's why older people can't sleep. And by the way, melatonin does help you sleep, and while you're sleeping is when you have your repair cycle. And you're not getting any repair if you're not getting any sleep, and you can't get any sleep if you don't have any of these antioxidants. You see the cycle that's going on? It's crazy. The good news is we have an answer. We have algae. And what I'm telling you again has been around for 60 years. Algae is a multi-billion-dollar, I'm going to talk about algae in a minute, but I wanted you to understand your body first. Algae is a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is not a supplement. It is a food. It is a rock star food that you don't know about. Why? Because you didn't grow up with it. In Japan, you can't ride your bicycle, you can't go to school without going by an algae farm. What do we have? Crappy corn, crappy wheat, crappy everything. And we don't know anything about algae because it's not grown here. I am planning to grow it here, and I'm going to get this stuff into every single person that I can, because this should be in schools, this should be in nursing homes, this should be in every single person's closet. By the way, you can throw out most of your supplements because most of them don't work unless you buy them from companies that are here who have done really good things. So this can replace a lot of things, but all of these, and again, I have the lab tests. I'm not telling you anything I don't have science for. I will never say anything I don't have science for. So you can start taking these things and just flatline inflammation. Our bodies are constantly regenerating. So if you can start stopping the inflammation and giving your mitochondria and your cells the nutrients that they need. So in there, it's like when you build a foundation of something, are you going to build it on sand or are you going to build it with really solid concrete? Algae is the concrete so that when your cells start regenerating, they're building a strong structure for you. And so you can start getting more mitochondria. Also, more mitochondria can grow when you stress it from exercise. Exercise is very good. Sleep is really good. But nutrients are critical, and stopping that free radical damage is essential. And if you start getting these numbers back up, your inflammation will flatline and you'll be happy again and all your lights will be back on. And if that wasn't crazy enough, you're going to flip out, because I sure did when I read this. It's all science-based. Okay, your mitochondria came from spirulina. So I have another chart on the next one. There was 4 billion years ago, Earth was gas and water, nothing lived. I have no idea why, nobody really knows why this little thing started growing. It's a cyanobacteria, single cell, generated ATP, released oxygen, and over 1 billion years later, there was enough oxygen on Earth that bigger cells could start growing, but they didn't generate ATP so well, and the little guy didn't do so well because now there's so much oxygen. So the big guy said, basically, hey, look it, why don't you come and join us? Here's a better shot. Why don't you come and join us? We'll look after you. We'll protect you from all that oxygen if you generate ATP for us. It's sort of like if you had a friend who got kicked out of their apartment, and they say, hey, can I come and stay with you for a little while? And you go, oh, fine, all right. But then they do your laundry, they do your grocery shopping, they pick up everything they do everything for you, and you go, hey, stay forever. I can imagine the conversation, right? That's exactly what happened. The little cyanobacteria, which spirulina is, got engulfed, did not get swallowed, but engulfed, and they had that conversation. Look, you generate ATP for me, I'll look after you and keep you protected from all that oxygen. And cyanobacteria became mitochondria. Proven. It's called endosymbiotic theory. 60 years ago, an MIT professor discovered this. She was, laughed at for 10 years by all her science colleagues until they realized she was right. So when you give yourself algae, you're literally giving yourself. You are feeding your spirulina, your mitochondria, everything it needs, because that's where it came from. It is itself. It's unbelievable. That's why your mitochondria love algae, because they are family. And algae has everything that your mitochondria needs to thrive and survive. It reduces the free radicals and it removes them. And we're going to go into that into more detail. We call it algae love. But I can't remember what I have in the next one. I'm going to start going into what algae is. But I want to tell you exactly in one of these pictures, if I have another. So, okay, so here's why no antioxidants can get into your mitochondria except the ones that I mentioned that are all in the highest concentration in algae. Here's the original, here's your original, my light's not working. Here's your original cell, right? And here's your mitochondria. So here's your mitochondria, and with the outer cell. And then there's that inner cell, the original cell. Well, that original cell was left over from when it was over here. And then when it got engulfed, the big cell put the second membrane around it, just like all the other cells that you have in your body. But these cells, and I'll talk about this in a minute, all of your other cells have something called porins, P-O-R-I-N-S. These are little channels that are in all of your cellular structure that allow proteins and antioxidants in and out so that they can do what they need to do. But there are none in the inner membrane because it didn't start there. So that's why there are no antioxidants that can get into your inner membrane except the ones that are found in algae, because there are no porins. And that's why there's a second membrane. It's left over from 4 billion years ago. We all came from algae, by the way, just to flip you out even further. But anyways, that is crazy, and this is all proven in. And by the way, I didn't mention this at the beginning. In your handouts or in your bags, there was a promotion about algae, and there's a QR code, and it gives this entire presentation. So, because I'm not going to be able to get through everything, but so we miss anything, you could just do that. You won't get me, but you'll get all the science, and all the links are live. There's probably 100, possibly 200 scientific links in there so that you can read more and more about everything I'm telling you so that you know that I'm telling you the truth. So anyway, so that's the basic story. Your body is like a building. When the lights go out, which are the mitochondria, and when your lights go out, your body starts feeling disease and fatigue, and you have weight gain. And so your job is to turn the lights back on. And we do that by protecting the mitochondria DNA so that your mitochondria can work, can start talking to the rest of the cells, things can work better, and algae has everything that they need. So let's now get to what algae is. Well, first of all, it's not a supplement. It is a food crop. Yes, algae is everywhere. It was the first life on Earth. It's in the lakes, the rivers, the streams. And there's macroalgae, also known as seaweed. And we're talking about microalgae. Now, microalgae, there's tens of thousands of strains of microalgae in the ocean, in the lakes, and the rivers. But the two that are harvested as food crops are spirulina and chlorella. First of all, number one, it's a crop. So it's not a supplement. Second of all, it's grown in fresh water, not the ocean. No contaminants from the ocean. Don't ever buy any algae that's grown in a lake or an ocean. There are a few companies, I won't name them, that do that. You can't do that because algae absorbs whatever's in the water, including mycotoxins. And we test for mycotoxins. Of course, we don't have any because we're grown in fresh water. But if you grow anything in a lake, there will be mycotoxins in there because you can't control the lake. So number one, Food, number 2, grown in fresh water. We're known for having the highest quality because our water is triple filtered, spring mountain water. We don't use high heat to dry it, and we don't put any binders in it. But spirulina is grown in long, narrow farms. Chlorella is grown in round farms. And this is all in Asia. 99.9% of algae is grown in Asia. 99.9% of algae is consumed in Asia. And that, by the way, the Japanese have the best longevity, the lowest cancer rates, and the lowest obesity rates. And they take chlorella algae every single day. So as I mentioned, algae was the first life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago. It's been consumed on a daily basis in Asia for 50 years. It's keto, it's vegan, it's paleo. Highest protein in the world, 3 times steak. Highest chlorophyll in the world, 500 times arugula. Highest melatonin in the world. Can't remember my numbers, it's 28,000 something. Highest glutathione, highest superoxide dismutase. Unbelievable, the most nutrient-dense food in the world. It's endorsed by NASA. They've been feeding it to the astronauts for 50 years. It's the first crop they want to grow in space. If it's good enough for NASA astronauts, it's good enough for you. It's been endorsed by the United Nations since 1974. They had a global conference on spirulina algae. You can Google it online and find I have the actual transcripts from the actual meetings. And they declared spirulina the answer to world hunger because it has the highest concentration of protein in the world. 3 times the amount as steak or chicken. It was even referenced in the Netflix movie Seaspiracy as the way to save the oceans, because you overfish for either the protein or you overfish for the omega-3. Where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae. Save yourself, save the oceans. Omega-3 is almost all rancid by the time you buy it. Algae never goes bad, and it's the original source of the omega-3 anyways. So endorsed by NASA, endorsed by the United Nations, science-based, the highest number of studies on algae in the world. You had a question?
Yeah, is chlorella a heavy metal binder?
Yes, yes. Spirulina is not. Spirulina is high chlorophyll, but not a binder. Only chlorella is a binder. Well, I'll get into that next with the difference between the two of them. And as I mentioned, it's a multi-billion, it's with a B, not a typo, $billion-dollar agricultural crop. We're growing crappy food. They're growing nutrient-dense microalgae. And so what are we? Who are we? We are the highest quality algae that you can find in the world. I started this company. I wasn't planning on starting a company. I have an MBA. I'm actually Canadian. I live in Boston and I have for 30 years. And 15 years ago, my younger sister developed breast cancer. She's fine now, by the way. But her oncologist in Canada told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would help with her healing. They didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So the first call she made was to me, her big sister who loves her. And I'm a citizen scientist. I can find out anything. And I said, I have no idea what this stuff is, but I will find out, and I did. And it was mostly a plant-based diet because of the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll that have been proven to build your immune system. So I found foods for her. She changed her diet. She went through chemo. She completely healed. Meanwhile, I learned about plant-based nutrition. This was 13, 15 years ago. Nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition. Nobody was talking about biohacking 15 years ago. Dave and I are kind of almost on the same parallels, but he's a little further ahead than I am. But so I went back to school, studied nutrition, then I got a health coaching certificate, then I taught nutrition for a year and found out everybody knows they should eat more vegetables, but it was too much work. Nobody wants to eat it. They throw it out, the arguments with their kids, with their husbands. Men hate vegetables, most of them do. And I understand. And who wants to spend their life cooking all day long? So I thought, I got to find something that's fast and easy, gives them the nutrition of vegetables with none of the work. Didn't know what I would find. I eventually found algae, and that's when I hit the mother lode, and I thought, that's it. And I have devoted my life since then, 12 years, to algae nutrition. I was on 200 podcasts in the last year and a half. I speak at conferences nationwide. I am known as the Algae Gal. So I don't care if you don't know my name, just know about algae. And I'm going to change this world by getting algae understood, making it super friendly. Look at the packaging. I design all the packaging. That doesn't look weird, right? People think algae's pond scum. No, it's a rock star. A rock star doesn't go around wearing, rags. You got to dress them up a little bit. So I gave them a makeover. Algae got a makeover. I used to be a publisher of an interior design magazine, so I do have a good design eye. But my algae is the prettiest algae packaging you'll see in the entire world. Even Neiman Marcus wants to sell us. So that's a true test of somebody likes my packaging. But so what are algae bits? I call them bits because they're bits of nutrition. They're bits of food. They're dried bits of food. And here's the spirulina farm. We dry it into a powder, and then we just press them into tablets that you can swallow. You can chew if you like the green flavor, but they're very chewy because of the high protein. You can put them in a smoothie. I live on this stuff. I mean, I eat other food, but I don't know what I would do without algae. By the way, it's my birthday this weekend. Thank you, thank you. And I'm turning 66. Do I look 66? No. No Botox, ever, okay? This is what algae does for you. I do have some hip issues because I was working so much and didn't exercise. And algae can't make me exercise, but I tell you, everything else it helps me with. I have a brain that should be, it's on fire because I'm passionate about getting you guys to understand what algae is and what it does for you, because it's effortless nutrition. All you have to do, like you need to swallow at least 10 a day, 20 would be better, but even start with 5 if you want. One won't do anything. But if you can open your mouth and swallow water, you can get the nutrients you need to protect your mitochondria, your longevity, your children. It's safe for newborns, pets, grandparents. Every single person in the world should be taking this, and it's spirulina in Japan. If they can't, the babies are newborn and they can't digest mother's milk, they give them spirulina and water. Why? And I found out why. The nutrient profile is virtually identical of spirulina and mother's breast milk. Same aminos, same proportions, and the same GLA. It's unbelievable. We know mother's breast milk is the perfect food. Spirulina is the next perfect food. There is so much nutrition in these tablets. One tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables that you did not have to carry home from the grocery store, stuff into your fridge, pull out, clean, cook, eat, fight with your kids or your significant other to eat, and then throw out when nobody eats it. There is zero waste. We have a 3-year expiry date on our tablets, but literally they never go bad. Because why? Algae actually never dies. It will go dormant until the growing conditions return, and I have evidence of this. A National Geographic team went to the North Pole. They pulled some ice. They were doing some testing on the ice. Some of the ice had algae in it. They brought it back to the lab. They put some water in a petri dish. The darn thing, the algae started growing again 2 billion years later. Algae never dies, and it never goes bad. What else does that? Like nothing, right? It is, I call it a super duper food for a good reason. It's got all this great stuff in it, but they are bits of food, not a supplement. And it's backed by science, as I mentioned. It does everything: health, energy, detox, mitochondria health, beauty. There wasn't enough room to put everything on there. Whatever you need, it has. It's like your best friend. So here's the 2 main algae that we're talking about. Spirulina, which is an energizing, nourishing algae, highest superoxide dismutase, melatonin protein in the world. It can replace your snacks. You can replace fish oil. It can be pre-workout. You do need at least 10 to feel any difference. We work with Olympic athletes. We fuel NHL teams. They put 75 spirulina tablets in their smoothie before a game, and then they put 75 chlorella in the game because chlorella is a detox and wellness algae. And it pulls out toxins of any kind: heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation. We work with biological dentists to use it to pull out mercury. The United Nations used it after Chernobyl to pull out the radiation. It pulls out everything, including alcohol, by the way. You can drink wine, beer, spirits. You'll need more for detox. For detox, you need at least 20 or 30 tablets. Wellness, just 10. You take these after you finish drinking. You're stone sober in an hour and a half, and you never have a hangover, ever, ever. Crazy, right? Meanwhile, you're feeding your mitochondria so that you can get out there and party more. I mean, Mother Nature, this is a gift to us from Mother Nature. She had one sense of humor. She gives us spirulina to get to the party and chlorella to clean us up after the party, and then we get to do it again. Party girl, right? So, mom, she knows what's going on. So here's the spirulina, highest protein in the world, highest chlorophyll in the chlorella. And again, it's good for focus, good for fitness, good for energy. If I had more room, I'd put everything else, but you need to summarize. So chlorella, detox, wellness, recovery. It will never satisfy your hunger, chlorella, but it will magnify all of the cleansing and detoxing that you need done. I know this is a very busy slide, so I'm not going to go through all this, but spirulina, as I said, is a bacteria. It's a cyanobacteria. It's the first life on Earth. These are all in that QR code. So all of these links are live when you go on the QR code, but it builds muscle. It's non-hemi iron, so it doesn't stimulate your mTOR pathway. It's a blue-green algae. It has 2 pigments in it, a blue one called phycocyanin, which, by the way, stops the growth of blood vessels to tumors. So it's called anti-angiogenesis, very powerful, lots of research about that. And then chlorella is a detoxing, immune system building algae. And it only, oh, sorry, somebody was taking a picture of that. Sorry, there you go. It does, and it belongs to the plant kingdom. It does have fiber. It does have fiber. Spirulina has no fiber because it is a bacteria. It does no cellulose wall on the outside. So chlorella just has the green pigment chlorophyll. Spirulina has the two pigments. And why is this different? Because the pigments do different things. I did this experiment 20 times until I checked science and I realized, so here's spirulina. See how the blue, this is the blue pigment that's in there, dispersed evenly and beautifully through the dish. And then I did it with chlorella. I did this 20 times. It would clump. It wouldn't disperse like, oh, the spirulina. I could, like, look at your brother over here, up level. But then I found out that the blue pigment, phycocyanin, is a water-based pigment, and chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. Why is that important? Because you need healthy fats to build your cell walls. Your cell walls are made of lipids, which is a fancy way of saying fats. And so that's why people take vitamin D and vitamin E, because they're fat-based omega-3. Chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. That's one of the reasons why it's so cleansing. When you do a juice or a vegetable cleanse, it's the chlorophyll that's building the cell walls. When your cell walls are permeable and healthy, nutrients can get in and toxins can get out. That's what's so cleansing about chlorophyll. It does that. It builds the cell walls and it helps nourish everything else. So, and this is why the blue pigment heals things like, it stops cancer, it heals your blood, so anything that's water-based, and the chlorophyll heals things that require fats. Now, when we're talking about protein, okay, yes?
Is it fat soluble? So do you need to eat fat?
Nope. Mother Nature, she's the best chef, 5-star chef in the world. She put everything into algae, so it's like listening, that when you take a supplement, it's like, I make the comparison of grade 3 soloists versus the Boston Symphony. Algae, both the algae have everything perfectly, beautifully harmonized, so they integrate and up-level each other nutrient. It's crazy. So you don't have to eat it with food. You can eat it with food instead of food, before food. Chlorella also helps with digestion. So, and they've been using it for IBS and Crohn's disease for like 40 years. Yes?
So if this doesn't activate either mTOR pathway, what about, does it light up AMP kinase?
I don't know about that one. Like I said, I'm a citizen scientist. Don't have the PhD. I try my best. If I don't know something, I'll try to research it for you. But I'm going to go fast because we're going to run out of time. So algae, as I mentioned, has the highest protein in the world. That's why the United Nations endorsed it. And it's the best protein, I think. Why? Because animal protein's all bound up, and it can take 3 days for it to be broken down into amino acids for your body to absorb. Then you have collagen protein, which are in smaller clusters called peptides. That's faster. But algae is the only one that has amino acids individually, so they get absorbed into your body instantly. That's why so many Olympic athletes, triathletes, ultra runners use this for their exercise, because it gets into their bloodstream, the spirulina, instantly, because there's nothing for your body to break down. No cellulose wall, the amino acids are individual. And by the way, algae is the only one of these two that are vegan and sustainable. Collagen powder, if you didn't know, is made of melted down bones and hides and tendons of animals or fish. And what do you think they melt it down with? Toxins and chemicals. So it's not exactly eco-friendly for you. And by the way, algae also has up to 400 times more collagen than collagen powder. So you're doing much better when you throw out your collagen powder and start taking the algae protein. So it has the highest protein in the world. The next highest is chlorella, which is 60% compared to ours is 64. Not everybody's at 64. It's a complete protein, 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 your body can't make. That's a complete protein. You don't have to mix it with anything. And as I said, it's sustainable and eco-friendly. It also has loaded with antioxidants. What are antioxidants? All these things over here that stops, it stops free radical damage in all your cells, but particularly in the mitochondria. But it does all these amazing things. And in addition to all these, it has the 4 antioxidants that stop the mitochondria damage that is impossible to get from food. And we already sort of went over this slide. Glutathione, melatonin. So what is glutathione? It is essential for your mitochondria health. It does all these things. It is the super antioxidant. It actually regenerates other antioxidants. So it is so powerful, but it's very hard to get in food, and even if you take it in supplements, it's very hard to get absorbed into your stomach. Here's a quote from Dr. Hyman. Glutathione is the secret to preventing aging, cancer, heart disease, dementia, and more. Necessary to treat everything from autism to Alzheimer's disease. Dr. Mark Hyman. I mean, he's no slouch. He knows about glutathione. And where do you get the highest glutathione? Algae, right? Okay, yes. So, and you can't, your body's, tanking on you on the glutathione and your inflammation's going up. No wonder you're having issues. Why, this is where the problem is. Like I had a great life, blah, 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 blah. We all did until 30. And then things started falling, the wheels started falling off. Your lights in your building started going off. We can turn those lights back on with glutathione because algae has the highest glutathione in the world. 1,400 times more than beef. It's crazy. Avocado compared to beef, avocado, spirulina is the next highest, but your chlorella has the highest. Spirulina is almost the next highest. Okay, what's the next one?
100 grams? You have to have 100.
No, I needed to find a measurement that was consistent. So 100 grams when I'm not telling you to eat that much, but when I was trying to do comparisons, I had to find something that was consistent in all of the science papers. So 100 grams was how everybody was measuring it. Melatonin. I have news for you. Melatonin does way more than manage your circadian and rhythm and help you sleep. In fact, that's probably I shouldn't say the least important, but it is a powerful antioxidant. Here's another news flash. They used to think melatonin was only made by your pineal gland. Newsflash, no. It's made by all of your mitochondria and is used by all of your mitochondria. Newsflash, your gut has more melatonin in it, 400 times more melatonin than your pineal gland. Why? Because melatonin helps with your digestion and your repair. And when does the repair go on? While you're sleeping. Oh, we already know that melatonin helps us sleep, and this is one of the reasons why the repair cycle is so important, why melatonin is so important, why sleep is so important. This is where you start repairing, turning those lights back on, is when you're sleeping. Melatonin is way off the charts. In fact, on your sheet, I read a book a couple months ago about the melatonin. Dr. Loriance, I was hoping he might be here. He's at the conference. We're doing a book signing for him on Saturday around 1 o'clock. So if you want to learn more about melatonin, he's your guy. I got 15 minutes, great. And I was stunned by what I read about melatonin. And here's all the things, all referenced. You can get all this when you do the QR code. So you know that I'm not telling you anything that's not validated. And by the way, not only does melatonin do all this other stuff, it helps improve the absorption of superoxide dismutase, another one of those antioxidants that you need to turn your lights back on. And guess what? Well, here's a quote from Dr. Lorian. It's more than a sleep hormone. It's a powerful antioxidant, protects your mitochondria, slows aging, prevents depression, blah, 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 blah. And here's all the tissue. Of course, your melatonin drops when you hit that magic number 30. Right? You can party when you're at college because you got all that melatonin that will help you sleep. But you start working again, and then you start all the other things, and your inflammation goes up, and your melatonin goes down, and it's not pretty. Ta-da! Good news. Melatonin, highest melatonin in the world, 28,000 times more than tart cherry juice. I put that in there because we work with a lot of sports nutritionists like the Detroit Red Wings. They've been working with us for 6 or 7 years. And the nutritionist gives her athletes tart cherry juice because it has always been known to have high melatonin, which helps reduce inflammation. Well, guess what? Spirulina has 28,000 times more melatonin than tart cherry juice, and I have the lab tests to prove it. Pistachios, by the way, are also pretty good, and we actually have pistachios at our table if you want to try snacking on them. They taste delicious with the recovery bits. So now you can have some recovery bits with pistachios before bed, and you will sleep like a baby. Each tablet has 1.2 milligrams of melatonin. And melatonin will not make you sleepy during the daytime. We've been selling ENERGYbits as a way to get energy for the last 12 years. Everybody loves the energy. The melatonin only makes you sleepy in the dark. It's triggered by the dark. So you can eat as much of the ENERGYbits or spirulina, chlorella all day long. You won't get a drop of fatigue. But if you take it before bed, it will certainly help you get to sleep. Sleep like a baby. All right, let's go to the next one, chlorophyll. Now, your body doesn't make chlorophyll, but there's virtually no chlorophyll in our food anymore. Why is chlorophyll important? I already talked about the cell, how it's a fat-based pigment, so it heals your cells so that you can get more nutrients in and toxins out and heal the cell wall. But guess what? The chemical composition of chlorophyll is virtually identical to your blood. There's your hemoglobin. There's chlorophyll. Notice that they're virtually identical. That's because they are. Until the pharmaceutical industry got involved, chlorophyll was always used for centuries And when people had surgeries or disease or illness, they used it even topically because it kills bacteria. This builds your blood. And when you have healthy blood, you're going to have a healthier brain. You're going to have healthier organs. You're going to have healthier digestion. You need chlorophyll. But this chlorella algae has 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll. There is nothing in the world with more chlorophyll than chlorella algae. That's why it's called chlorella, because of the chlorophyll. So it does all these great things that build your immune system, but it definitely builds your blood, and they are virtually identical. And as you age, you tend to eat fewer vegetables because you have your digestion isn't working as well because you're not sleeping as well. See how it all connects, right? And you also it's difficult for the fiber. So there's a quote that if you click on this link down here, they call this the sad situation we're in with our soils being so damaged, the great nutrient collapse. We're eating stuff, and our industrialized food system is a disaster. There is no nutrients getting into people, and it's no surprise everyone's getting sick. Ta-da! But you can get your chlorophyll without having to eat vegetables. If you have kids, you don't have to ever argue with them anymore. Give them one or half a tablet for their age. So if they're 10, give them 5 a day. If they're 20, give them 10 a day. But it's effortless nutrition. And kids actually love to chew this stuff. They think it's funny because when they chew it, their tongue turns green. And then they have these little games, sticking out their tongue and see how green your tongue is versus mine. So you will not find any place in the world with more chlorophyll than algae. The other antioxidant we didn't touch on yet, but I'm going to now, is called superoxide dismutase, which is a mouthful, also known as SOD. It's one of those antioxidants that can get into the inner membrane and stop free radical damage. The worst free radical is one called superoxide. And this turns it into water, harmless water. Ta-da! Now your mitochondria are saved, your lights are going back on. And by the way, everyone's known for the last 10 or 20, maybe 30 years, that all illness is related to inflammation. But they're now realizing all of that inflammation is in the mitochondria. So you've got to stop the mitochondria damage because that's where the inflammation is. And superoxide dismutase is the most powerful antioxidant that will stop the superoxide. And so they've discovered that your body does make superoxide, but when you hit that magic 30, it stops generating it, and by the time you're 60 or 70, you have virtually none. By the way, superoxide dismutase has had 50,000 studies done on it. It is rock solid in terms of being proven to stop cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and more. Proven. But your body isn't making it, and you can't get it from food. And when you take it from a supplement, it's not getting into your mitochondria. But I have good news. Ta-da! Algae. See a repeating pattern here? Algae has the highest superoxide dismutase in the world. ENERGYbits has the second highest, and I mean, it's almost laughable about, cabbage is the only one that people are modestly aware of, but it has 7,000 times more than cabbage, and even then the stuff that's in cabbage probably doesn't get to you. Now the reason why the superoxide dismutase and all the other nutrients that are found in the algae, particularly spirulina, is because remember, spirulina is a bacteria. No cellulose wall, nothing for your body to break down. It gets instantly absorbed, literally bypasses digestion. So all of this superoxide dismutase is getting to where it needs to go. It's not like, when we send packages these days and the postal service loses it and, it's months before you find it. Superoxide dismutase is like getting Federal Express. It goes right to your mitochondria. So it knows exactly where to go and why it needs to get there. Algae also has the highest collagen. As I mentioned, it's better than collagen powder. It has up to 430,000. We even have a chart that went through every single amino and compared them with collagen powder. And I can show you, I don't know if I have the chart with me, but it has, by the way, collagen is not a complete protein. It's missing tryptophan. And it's also, you have to have certain nutrients like vitamin C, copper, and zinc in order for your body to make collagen from the collagen powder, and it's not in the collagen powder. So they have to add it. It is in the algae naturally. All these nutrients that your body needs is already in the algae. You don't have to add it. So it's basically the best ingestible. It beats out collagen. It never goes rancid like fish oil. It saves the ocean at the same time. It's better than CBD because it reduces inflammation like CBD, and there's no legal issues. And gummies and multivitamins are notorious for being loaded with sugar or sugar-like things, and they're all made in processed manufacturing, which uses heat. Anytime you use heat on anything, you change the nutrient structure, and it's difficult for your body to absorb it. So the secret to longevity is healthy mitochondria. And the secret to healthy mitochondria is algae. I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to just blow through these very, very quickly. I probably won't take any more questions, but there are, as I mentioned, 100,000 trillion of them. Your DNA only lasts 10 or 30 days, whereas your regular DNA lasts a lifetime. The mitochondria are constantly getting mutated and damaged by that free radicals that are being released, and you've got to have healthy mitochondria if you want to extend your life. Here's that picture again so that you see that in each cell you have these little mitochondria, up to 2 million of these guys in your cells in your brain, but this is where the free radicals and the ATP are being produced, which damage the mitochondria. And you can't get anything in there to stop them. Well, actually, there are 2 ways to stop the free radical damage, because free radicals exhaust the life out of your mitochondria. And the worst are carbs and sugar. Now, I know this crowd probably doesn't have a lot of carbs and sugar, and I'm not perfect either, and I do occasionally have some, but it is what it is. They just generate more free radicals and hurt your mitochondria. So what's the way? There's 2 ways to protect your mitochondria. I sort of alluded to one, but I'll go through them in more detail. So the first thing is to reduce the free radicals, and you can do that with a keto diet, with fasting, or calorie restriction, and algae tubs, because all 3 of these create fewer free radicals. The other option is to remove the free radicals, and the only way you can do that is with glutathione, melatonin, chlorophyll, and superoxide, because these are the only 4 that can get into that inner membrane right in there where there are no porins, and so no regular traditional antioxidants can get in there. So let's take a closer look at this. Why? The first solution is to reduce the free radicals. Carbs create the most. Keto is using fats to fuel your body, and it's a much cleaner process, so there are fewer free radicals. But algae and fasting produce virtually none. This is intermittent fasting, this is called regular fasting, and same with algae. Algae has 0 carbs. And also, I don't have time to go into it, but when you have chlorophyll and you expose your body to light, whether it's red light therapy or sunlight, it regenerates the CoQ10 molecule and actually generates ATP for you. No food. It's crazy, but that's one of the reasons why there's no free radicals. So fasting gives you everything that you need, but you can't fast forever, right? I mean, eventually you have to start eating again. But fasting, also known as calorie restriction, is a shorter time window or just fasting. So you get mitochondria biogenesis, which is more mitochondria increasing, more mitochondria respiration, which is a fancy way of saying ATP production. I added all the red stuff so that consumers would know what they are. Reduced free radical damage, reduced oxidative stress, and increases your enzymes. So that gives you longevity. So either fasting or algae. To me, I think algae is a lot easier because I'd like to go out and hang out with my friends and occasionally eat. So I would choose algae. So especially if I have the chlorella after drinking a few things. So again, remember, to remove the free radicals is difficult because virtually none can get in there in that inner membrane. It's like a fortress. Those are the 4 that can. And again, here's why. Again, there's porins that are in the regular cell membranes, but there are no porins in that inner membrane. So that's why, and it's left over from the day 4 billion years ago from the original membrane. So these are the 4 antioxidants you need, and algae has all 4 in the highest concentration. I already talked about the water and how it basically rescues your DNA by turning them out and into water. And spirulina has the highest superoxide dismutase in the world. But you can't buy just any spirulina. It has to be a raw food. And virtually every other algae company out there uses high heat. Why? Because virtually everybody else has a lower price, higher volume business model. I never even planned to start a company. I just wanted to help my sister, and then I wanted to help a few more people, and suddenly I had a company. So when I learned 10 years ago that high heat killed enzymes, I didn't know much about enzymes, but I knew there was something important about them. I said, no high heat for our algae. So we have never used high heat to dry our algae. So all of our superoxide dismutase, which saves your mitochondria and turns your lights back on, is alive and well. You can also get it in algae that is frozen because it's a raw food. But everything else out there is dried with high heat, and they're shooting blanks. You can buy it, but you're getting half of the value that you would get from us. So with algae, everything in your life improves. Everything spirals up, your inflammation flattens out, and you get back to where you were. I can't help you with your fitness. You still need to do that. So the summary is that mitochondrial damage is the leading cause of all disease and all aging. It's sort of like, follow the money trail. Follow algae was the first life on Earth. You can't get any more ancestral than algae. And you can't get to any other core part of your body than mitochondria. They are where everything starts. And so no surprise that they are the same. And then we already kind of went through that they evolved from the same place. It's proven through a process called endosymbiosis. So there's that, hanging out by themselves, spirulina, getting engulfed by the big guy, deciding, well, I'm not going to chew you up. I'm going to keep you so you can keep my lights on and I'll protect you. And your mitochondria came from spirulina. It's crazy. And that's why mitochondria, spirulina has, and eventually also chlorella, has everything that your mitochondria need because they're family. As I said, they basically understand each other. Now I'm going to blow through the next just slides. I'm not going to really go through them. I'm just going to tell you the headlines because when you have healthy mitochondria, when you have all your lights back on, these are you have great cell health because they have to be slightly alkaline. The whole thing started with me because my sister needing alkaline. Your cells need to be 7.1, slightly alkaline. Your blood needs to be 7.34, a little bit more alkaline. Algae is great for keto and fasting. 0 carbs. It keeps you energized, focused, no carbs. It helps with your brain health. Again, I can't go through all the details, but you can see all the science references there. Helps build your bones. Has the highest, has K2, which moves excess calcium into your bones, so it protects your bones, and you don't have all this crappy stuff going on in your organs. You have calcium deposits, calcification of your blood vessels. That's what arteriosclerosis is excess calcium in your blood vessels. Algae moves all that out of there because it has vitamin K2. It helps with your sleep. We know how important sleep is. Helps with your energy. It helps with your immune health. It helps with your gut health. Helps with weight loss. It helps prevent diabetes too. Diabetes, you get insulin spikes damage your mitochondria. Damage mitochondria cause diabetes. It's a cyclical thing. It's terrible. It helps with your skin health. Like I said, I have no wrinkles and no Botox. It increases your skin collagen and protects your skin collagen. It's great for cryotherapy. It up-levels all of the benefits of cryotherapy. Both of them do for different reasons. It up-levels all of the benefits of red light therapy. There's some red light therapy here, and there's some cryotherapy people here. It's sustainable. It's eco-friendly. I'm almost finished. The biohack benefits are off the charts, never ending. It's, as I said, endorsed nationwide, globally. We have 4 brands. Spirulina, we have 2 brands of spirulina. The only reason why there's 2 is because I started the company because my sister, women's health is very important to me. I found that the women just didn't like the packaging or blue, and my girlfriend said, you got to make it pink and give it a cute name. So I did, and I created ENERGYbits. It's exactly the same product, just packaged differently. Sells very well in spas. Women love it. It's my favorite package. By the way, as I said, I designed everything. I just want people to feel as good about buying and using the product because once I get the algae into you, it knows what to do. It can turn those lights back on. Your building will be busy again. And that's what we want. So those are the 2 spirulina. We have chlorella, which we call ENERGYbits because it helps you recover your health. And then we do have another brand called ENERGYbits, which is 50% spirulina, 50% chlorella. It's already pre-blended. I encourage people, if you can, to buy them separately because you generally want more energy and you're hungry in the morning, afternoon, or before a workout. And generally you want to help facilitate detox and repair while you're sleeping because that's what your body does when you're sleeping anyways. But if you can't, you've got the blend of the 2 of them. And I have a few extra here. And we have a booth, big booth. Please come and see us. We have lots of samples to give away so we can give you some samples. So it's really breakthrough nutrition. It doesn't have sexy bells. I think this is the problem with algae. People think it's been around. Like they put it in their smoothie. They're not sure what it does. They know it's a superfood. Like they don't really know. So I am here to tell you exactly what it does, exactly what it is, and why exactly you need it. I wouldn't dream of going through a day without my algae. And I've done everything I can to make it sustainable and eco-friendly for you. And there's the QR code if you didn't scan it before, and you can see all of that again without me. But you can check it's live so that you can check all those links. And thank you very much.